The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed on the Nova Society are those of our guests and panel members and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of any institution any member of the Nova Society is associated with. The material information presented on the Nova Society is for general information purposes only. Reproduction or dissemination for the purpose other than education is prohibited without express written consent of the Nova Society. We'd like to welcome everyone back to the Nova Society, and today our panel will be having a conversation on a whole bunch of different issues that are in the news. Number one will be about the vice presidential picks from both parties. We'll also be talking about the recent developments in Israel and in the Middle East, where Israel has targeted Hamas and Hezbollah leaders successfully. And then we're going to be talking a little bit about the debates. Will they go on? What is the strategy? What's the advantages and the disadvantages? So let's listen in. The Republicans do not have, as you put it, a deep bench. I'll say they don't have a deep couch. Sorry.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, well, anyway. And that really was shown with the picking of the vice president of J.D. Vance. Young man, yeah, he's triced out Trump. But where else was he going to go? When you look at it's an embarrassment of riches for the Democrats. I mean, it's just an absolute embarrassment of riches as to the people that they've got available. I mean, just the ones that they vetted. There's people that they didn't even bother to vet that would have been absolutely wonderful as the vice president. So it shows the differences of the party. And my great hope, somebody came out and said the other day that anybody that has attempted to run twice and lost twice basically went into obscurity. And they mentioned Adlai Stevenson, who was a really good representative to the UN during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Surprised everybody. Surprised the Kennedys. Nobody thought that Adlai Stevenson had the Chaconies that he showed. But the fact is that they don't have that deep bench anymore. They just don't have that pool of respected people. They don't have somebody as respected as Mark Kelly. They don't have somebody that's as liked as Josh Shapiro or Pritzker or some of these other, candidates are out there. Pete Buttigieg, who I think someday will be the president of the United States. I'll make that prediction today. Someday Pete Buttigieg will become the president of the United States because I think he's going to get more and more responsibility in every single Democratic administration. I think he really is, because he's shown himself to be smart. He's quick on his feet, and he's reasonable. And I think that's the whole thing. So the hope is that what was being said about Adlai Stevenson having lost the presidential election twice and basically went to obscurity, hopefully that'll happen with Trump. The question will be, will the Republican Party come to its senses? And I've said this for 3 years. We need a strong Republican Party. You need a strong conservative party as a counterbalance. I want a good Republican Party, one that thinks on, yes, conservative ideas, absolutely, that is a counterbalance, so that we do not move too quickly in our quest to become, more progressive. We will get to progressiveness, but it's a process, and it's a process that has to take time. And having a good, strong conservative group counterbalancing that is exactly what country needs. Countries that move too quickly usually suffer the consequences eventually. And the fact is that we need that good Republican Party to exist there. Now, if Kamala Harris wins, and I'm going to say right now, I'm hoping beyond hope that she does, and I'll even give a prediction. I think she does win. I think she does win the election.
And it's certified?
And get certified. Yeah. Oh, there's all sorts of ways around that. There's so many ways around that. That's not even, that to me, that's conspiracy theory. It will get certified. I mean, there's people that make an argument that the Earth is flat. It's not a very good argument, but they can make the argument. And what I'm saying is that, yes, it will be certified. And I think there's a lot of fear mongering going out there on both sides. That it really is not warranted. The Republicans say it's going to be stolen, and the Democrats say, well, the Republicans are going to steal it by these methods. Well, I guess we'll see. But the fact is that I think it's a lot of fear mongering. We have to concentrate on the issues that exist out there, what these two people represent, and we need to understand that character, when it comes to the United States president, really does matter. And if you don't think it matters, and if you don't think character matters in the president of the United States, then explain to me how those political prisoners in Russia were released. Because it all came down to one old guy directing his people to go out there and get this done, talking to leaders of other nations, including Turkey, and getting this thing done. So he may not be able to get a sentence together very, very well anymore. He may look like he's lost when he's on the stage, but you put him to work doing the thing that he's doing, that he's done for 50 years. He's still got it. You know, to me, he still has it.
So I have a couple of questions of various different types. Kamala Harris has expressed concern for the people of Gaza. And that automatically has become that she's anti-Israel, and she didn't go to Mr. Prime Minister Netanyahu's speech and this and that. Now, her husband is Jewish. So what type of dynamic might there be there as far as our Israeli ally? And I understand also that Israel killed a Hamas leader in Beirut?
No, in Tehran.
In Tehran. Oh, okay.
How cool is that?
Okay.
I mean, that's tough.
I thought they had struck Hezbollah.
Or they did. You just said Hamas. They've done both. So you just said Hamas, and yes, they killed the leader, one of the big leaders of Hamas, in Tehran, in a building that was being guarded by the Republican Guard, and somehow or another Israel snuck a bomb in there, left it for several weeks, maybe even a month, and then when they found out that he was there and staying in the apartment, they detonated the bomb and killed him.
So it was a Hezbollah person that they killed in Beirut, right, Scott?
Yes, and then exactly.
Okay. So they've gotten a Hezbollah person, the Israelis, have gotten somebody, a leader in Hezbollah, and the leader of Hamas, or a leader of Hamas?
I would say he was the big leader of Hamas.
Okay, in two different locations.
Yes, and again, I just want to, let's be clear about this. In Tehran.
In Tehran.
In Iran, be heavily guarded. I mean, how you pull something like this off is just beyond belief, and absolutely incredible feat of military strength or whatever it is, covert strength. Just an amazing operation.
This is Mission Impossible stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Does that boost Netanyahu's chances of remaining prime minister after the war, or increase his likability from the Israeli people? Okay. So what about backlash to Israel from this type of stuff? Or would Iran be apt not to do anything?
Well, it remains to be seen what Iran's going to do, but they're going to do something. There's going to be ramifications from this. You don't pull off a job like this and not have it be some kind of retaliation. I mean, we talk about our borders all the time. I mean, somehow or another, the Israelis snuck a bomb past their borders into a heavily guarded building under control of their elite military troops and managed to detonate it at a perfect time when the target was there. As far as Netanyahu is concerned, I mean, he's definitely pushing it right now. I mean, this move is a bold move, and it could lead to a much larger war in the Middle East than we've seen. It's going to be up to Biden, I think, to calm everybody down and stay focused on what we need to focus on. Israelis are much better at this kind of operation than they are at war, and they're pretty damn good at war. But this kind of stuff that they do, I mean, I think that the head of Hezbollah, Nasrallah, has already said publicly that he knows they know where he is at all times, and that the only reason he's alive is because they haven't killed him yet, and they could do it at any time. And whether that is decisive or not, who knows, right? I mean, the movements continue on. They don't stop because their leaders are dead. But of course, when you cost them leaders, you make it more difficult to have the next person step up. Ismail Haniyeh had a lot of experience doing what he did that can't just be easily replaced. It's a big hit. It really is. It's a really big hit. And so there's going to be retaliation. There's going to be retaliation for the retaliations. That's how it goes. But hopefully, somewhere along the line, sometime soon, and we know that they're negotiating, they've been negotiating for a while, that this war in Gaza ends and that the hostages are released, they can start working towards whatever the next step is going to be. And, that, again, that's not easy. There's a lot of complicated stuff going on there. But one way or another, Israel is a democracy. There's going to be another election, hopefully sooner rather than later, and Netanyahu should be voted out of office. As far as Kamala Harris is concerned, she's leaning more towards we need to end this quickly than Biden is, but I don't think it's going to cost her anything. First of all, it's not real high on people's list of things that concern them. And second, this war has been going on for too long. I think everybody feels that. So the only thing that you're going to get from Trump is a green light to basically level the place, and a lot more dead people. So you don't really have a great option there. So I don't think it costs Kamala very much. I think it does probably eliminate Josh Shapiro from the running. I think it's probably right now down to Mark Kelly and Tim Walz as to who's going to be the vice president. But I don't think it has major implications for her other than that.
And I would also say that, sometimes we make the distinction. Josh Kelly or Shapiro is Jewish. And as you mentioned, Kamala Harris's husband is Jewish. My wife is Jewish. We cannot make the mistake of conflating being Jewish with being supportive 100% of everything the Israeli government does. I know Scott doesn't like Bibi. My wife doesn't like Bibi. I would almost be willing to bet, although I have no evidence of this, probably Kamala Harris's husband probably doesn't like Bibi. I would bet Josh Shapiro isn't a big fan. And so it's the policies that the Israelis have when it comes to dealing with this situation. It's not the people we're talking about. It's not Jewish people we're talking about. We're talking about a government. And that is what they don't support. They do not support that government and what that government is doing. That says nothing about their feeling about Jewish people at all. And I think it's that zero-sum attitude that, some people take. Well, if you don't support Israel, then you don't support the Jews, or you're anti-Semitic, or you're this, that, or the other. That's not true. And it's not a matter of not supporting Israel. It's a matter of not supporting some of the stuff their government is doing, just as we don't support everything our government is doing. That doesn't make you anti-American. But so many times that's what you're going to hear. Oh, well, you don't like that policy of the United States? Well, you're anti-American. No, I'm not. I want my country to be better. Not stupid, better. And I think a lot of people make that connection that doesn't truly exist. I am, as a husband of somebody that is Jewish, I am all for the Jewish people, all for them, because my wife and her family are part of that demographic, and I am all for them. I'm a supporter of them. I believe in Israel. I truly do. I just think their government sucks. And I think the head of their government, who runs all this stuff, I think he sucks and he needs to go. And put somebody in there that will make Israel safer, make them more secure, and make them better than they are right now. And that's not the fault of the average person that's working in Israel. That's not their fault. They're kind of stuck with the government they've got. And this concept that it's all or nothing. And you're going to hear it. The same people that say about Americans, oh, you're against the policy, you're anti-American, are the same people that say, oh, well, if you're against this policy of Israel, you're anti-Israel, you're anti-Semitic. That is crap. That is absolute crap. You've got to separate the two. You've got to actually the three. You've got to separate the people from the country, from the leadership of the country. That's what you've got to separate out. There are three, main entities there. And unfortunately, it's the leadership of the country that directs the direction of the country. That you can disagree with without any reservation, and you can still be supportive of the country and of the people that live within it.
And the Israelis agree with you, because I think his polling numbers are terrible.
That's correct. But I will say this, there are people in Israel that totally support Bibi Netanyahu. That's their right. Just as there's people in the United States that support Donald Trump. We can't figure it out. We're not even going to try to figure it out, but it's there. And okay, it is what it is. You're always going to have, two different sides to the coin. But this concept of you're either all with us, 100% with us, or you're 100% against us. You can't be 99% with us. Only 100% will we accept. That's a logical fallacy that exists there, and it does no good. It also stagnates any kind of evolution or any kind of betterment of the country.
Or any kind of discussion. My Jewish friends can't stand Netanyahu either, and they get the same sort of this all or nothing, where they're being told they're anti-Semitic when they make an objection, and say they don't want to have anybody killed. Well, you're anti-Semitic, and they get sick of hearing that. They really do. So what about the upcoming debate between Vice President Harris and presidential candidate Trump for September 10th, is it? Where Trump was objecting, it's ABC, and ABC is fake news, and he doesn't want any moderators because they're against him, and all this and that. He wants whatever it is that he wants. So he might not appear, but Vice President Harris said she would be there, whether he's there or not. It's up to him.
Yeah. What do you think, Mark? Should I double down on my previous bad prediction that he's not going to debate?
Do you think he'll be there this time?
And you know what, Scott? I'm going to triple down on your prediction. Debating Kamala Harris serves him no purpose. all he can do is hurt himself. There was a debate coach that was on one of the news programs that was talking about the first time that Trump had that round table kind of thing with the audience. It was like a town hall and against Hillary Clinton, and creepily Trump was standing over her, behind her.
I remember that.
And of course, Hillary Clinton is not a tall woman, and Trump is 6 foot plus. And he like loomed over her, and it was like really kind of creepy. And the guy said, he goes, I've thought about this for years. How could Hillary Clinton have mitigated that? And he goes, I finally came up with the answer by listening to Kamala Harris. All she had to do was turn around and face him. Turn around and face him. Say it to my face, which was the comment that Kamala Harris made, and just turn around and face him. And Hillary Clinton was not a prosecutor. She was a lawyer, but she was, basically a politician's wife and a politician. Kamala Harris has no trouble in her career as a prosecutor, as a district attorney, to stand up and turn around and face to face against the bad guy. She doesn't have that fear, and she's comfortable doing it. Yeah. Or turning around and saying something like, why are you being creepy like this? This is weird. And I think that thing what they're saying now, weird, I think that's sticking. I really do. So I'm going to say, yes, Scott, I agree with you. I don't think he debates because there is no way, if he does, it's his ego that gets him to go do this debate. And I think he gets absolutely trounced.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I don't see any reason for him to want to debate her. He's gonna look like a moron.
It's just got bad karma for him all the way around.
What types of excuses do you think we the American public will hear?
Yeah, I'd be interested. Brooke, I'd be interested to see if this news story that you reported earlier, comes out there, and if he's asked about it, that he just doesn't want to be fact checked in real time by anybody, and that he can't handle, people checking his, fountain of lies all the time, and what that does to this race, because it really does show the sort of thin-skinnedness that he, obviously he's said it before. He didn't like Saturday Night Live. He thought it should be taken off the air. He certainly would, if he had the power, censor people who don't like him. So that in Venezuela, they're already talking about re-education camps for the people who don't like the candidate, the president who actually lost the election, but claims that he won it. And I could see Trump wanting to do something along those lines as well. But it'd be interesting to see how the electorate looks at that. He doesn't want to be fact checked.
I mean, yeah, you're going to have a part of the electorate that's simply not going to believe it. They're going to say, "Oh no, that didn't happen. Axios is fake news." Again, his excuses. Well, one of the first things when he attacked the young lady who was questioning him, the first questioner at the conference of the black journalists, "Oh, you're from ABC." Right. So, ABC was fine as long as it was Joe Biden. When he had his unfair advantage. But now he doesn't have that unfair advantage. Matter of fact, he's at a disadvantage. I want to go on Fox, where I have an ally. I mean, even the reporter that was on the stage asking questions, the questions that she asked, and she was from Fox, one of them was from Fox News, her questions were a little bit more softball than what came out of the other two.
Talk about a DEI hire.
Yeah, that's what he wants, because that at least gives him maybe a chance. Although I can honestly see, if you ever watched Pete Buttigieg on Fox News, he dismantles them without any effort whatsoever. The man just simply does not break a sweat in dismantling stupidity.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
He is brilliant. Now, is Kamala Harris of that caliber? I don't know. Yeah, I don't think so. I honestly think Buttigieg has just got that thing. Some people just have that. Huh?
Right. Other than Bill Clinton, I can't think of anybody who's smoother than he is, than Buttigieg is.
Yep. And that's a good term for him. He's smooth. He is smooth, and he knows what he's talking about. So, is Harris quite to that caliber? No, I think she's got other attributes that work for her as the president of the United States. But I'd love them to be able to say, all right, Trump, we're going to give you Fox News. We're going to give you Fox News. We're going to send a surrogate for Kamala Harris. It's going to be Pete Buttigieg. Watch Fox News jump out and say, oh, no, maybe we don't want to do that. Because not only will he make Trump look bad, he'll make them look bad. And he's very good at it.
Yeah. Could I just one more thing about Mayor Pete? It's obviously he's prepared. Yep. He knows what questions are coming, and he knows that he's got a great answer for it, and he's very disciplined because he repeated the same stuff on the Daily Show that he had done on Sunday on Fox. So he's got these answers planned out in advance. His ability to understand what the questions are going to be and what the answers need to be are, perfect. I've done a lot of media training of executives and politicians, and that's what you try to do. You sit there and you use your critical thinking skills to think about what the questions are going to be, and then you come up with answers for them, and you prep your candidate or your executive or whoever it is in what here you're going to anticipate this question. Here's your answer. You're going to get to your message as quickly as you can. And Buttigieg is just a master at that. And I can't ever see Trump bothering to learn anything, to be able to sit down and prepare the way that Pete Buttigieg prepares. But I can't see Kamala Harris doing it.
Well, I can see, I can definitely. And to show you how in the minds of the American populace Pete Buttigieg is, we can actually say his name now. When he was running, half of us couldn't say the doggone thing. We would just absolutely tongue-tied over that name. Today, I don't think very many people at all have a problem with Pete Buttigieg. I would agree with Scott. He's disciplined, which he can anticipate. I would agree with Scott, too, that I think Kamala Harris can do that. I mean, let's face it. You got your closing arguments. You got your opening arguments. You know what you're going to ask when you are a prosecutor. So I think she has the capability. Could she be as smooth as Mayor Pete? Maybe not, but okay. But that's the other thing that shows with Trump. He's not disciplined. He has no capacity to be disciplined. How could he walk out onto that stage yesterday and not know what they were going to ask him and not have prepared at least some coherent answer other than, you're nasty, you're not being nice to me? That's, come on. You've got to have something better than the fifth grader. You've got to.
Yeah.
And he didn't. So he does not have that capacity. And whether it be Buttigieg, whether it be Kamala Harris, no matter, I'm sorry, he's out of his league. And the American public ought to understand and take that into consideration. If he's out of his league running for office against these people who he says are stupid, are, incompetent, and these are his words. If he believes that, he's afraid of that, what's he going to do against real world leaders? How's he going to stand up to them?
We don't have to imagine that because we've seen it. And the UN laughed at him, and because he spent his entire speech bragging about how great he was, and they just laughed in his face. And he said, well, I've never gotten that reaction before. I don't want to talk about him anymore. I really hope this is over soon. Let this be over soon.
All right.
All right,
you guys,
kids.
Have a safe trip back, Scott.
Yeah, have fun.
See y'all.
Take care.
Take care.
So that's all the time we have for today's episode. The Nova Society is a production of the Phoenix Research Institute. We'd like to thank our sponsor for this episode, the Journal of Interdisciplinary Conflict Science. The JCIS is an open journal for upcoming scholars. The JCIS is currently accepting article submissions on an ongoing basis. The JCIS is a publication of Nova Works, a scholarly depository at Nova Southeastern University. A link to the journal is in our description. We'd also like to thank our podcast partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, who is our editing partner, and Podkite, who does all of our analytics. We'd also like to thank iHeartRadio, where people get their music and podcasts, Apple iTunes, the largest source for music and podcasts on the internet, Spotify, the most popular source for the Nova Society. The Nova Society is available on all these and other quality platforms mentioned in our description. We'd also like to thank our listeners. Without you, the Nova Society would not be possible. If you have a comment, a question, or would like to be a guest on the Nova Society, we can be reached at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. Always remember, the power of society is knowledge. So for Dr. Scott Gershwer, Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, Dr. Priscilla Hobbs, and all of us here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Be well, and we hope to see you again next time.